Not getting up in the morning and also late night urges really wrecked my life for quite a while. Because with those two alone, you can waste so much time. But luckily, I found two tools, or I developed two tools for myself that really helped me sort this out and crush this finally. Because mastering your morning and your evening is absolute key for getting your life on track and moving into the right direction consistently. Very, very important. And the two tools that I developed for myself, I call them frame habits, number 1. Number 2, compass realignment. And if you've been struggling with late night urges or lazy mornings as well, then I really hope this helps you as well. So let's jump right into the first tool, frame habits. I called it frame habits because it basically draws a frame around your day, especially in the beginning, sometimes also in between, but especially in the beginning, I found it very difficult to stick to like long morning routines, and instead went for just picking one thing in the morning and one thing in the evening that are set in stone. They are very solid, like I have to do those no matter what. And only those two. The rest is negotiable in the beginning. Obviously you build on those, but in the beginning, those two and only those two are set in stone. And that makes it so that it's not as overwhelming. So those two habits became like the two main anchors that my day evolved around. For example, in the morning, each morning I would do some form of movement, whether it's just stretching, some running, or a full workout. Doesn't matter how long or how intense, some movement has to happen. That's always set in stone. And for the evening habit, I started doing something that I think I heard Goggins or Jocko talk about, maybe both, I don't know. And I started preparing my training equipment for the next day already in the evening. But not only just preparing it, but I would put it in a place where I would have to interact with it the next morning. Meaning I would put it like in front of the door of my room, where when I open the door, I have to like take it in my hands, take it out of the way, or put it on my desk. Meaning when I would sit down on my desk, I would have to take it away so that I have space. So that I force myself basically to interact with it. And that makes actually following through a lot easier. And once I started doing those two things and focusing in on those two things alone, something very interesting started happening. Because those two anchors really structured my day. And because of that, the rest of my day became more structured almost automatically. So by taking on these two smaller habits, which seem very manageable, you kind of create this domino effect or this snowball effect for the rest of your day. Not always, but it just feels more natural to like do more stuff now, to think about your day more, to go about it in a more structured way. It just feels easier all of a sudden. Still not super easy, but easier. And if you combine the frame habits with the second tool, things become even more interesting, and it's called the inner compass realignment. And the purpose of this tool is to really create your new identity and to make it stick. Just like a blacksmith who, through continuously and always hitting the same spot over and over again, changes something as rigid as metal into all kinds of beautiful shapes and useful shapes and all these kinds of things. And that is especially important nowadays in the society that we live in, where we get distracted and get pulled into all kinds of directions all the time in a very powerful way. Like there's so many people whose entire skill set is about how do I get people's attention and how do I make them move into the direction that I want to. There are not really many people who teach you how to connect with your own direction, inner guidance, and walk your own path. Everyone wants to take your attention on them and then have you move in the direction they want you to move. And that's why it's so important to take control of this. And always remember, the word identity comes from the idea of doing the identical action over and over and over again. So not getting pulled into all kinds of directions all the time, but you deciding on your own direction and keep walking your own path. So you remind yourself of who you want to be every single day, how you want to act, what kind of man you want to be, and you actively reconnect with it every single day. And the most efficient times are just in the morning before you get pulled into any other direction. You do this yourself, and also in the evening to set your mind straight for the good night's rest, and then starting the next day fresh and with already a running start basically. So how do you do this? It can be very quick, especially after you get used to it a little bit. It literally takes less than 5 minutes. There are two parts to the inner compass realignment. First, I create the anti-vision. I remind myself of what I don't want in my life. And to keep my mind focused and on track for the exercise, I focus on the 4 main areas of life: relationships, health, wealth, and spirituality, or personal development, however you want to call it. And then I do the opposite. I give my mind something to aim at, something very specific. And I ask myself the question, or really hone the idea for myself. What is the difference between just satiation and fulfillment? Like, what does fulfillment really look like for me? Not just stimulation and okay, nice, but real fulfillment. What matters to me? How do I want to act? What type of man do I want to be? And I do bring up some emotions, some inner pictures and these kind of things. They don't have to be too intense, but it helps to have some at least. And it really started making a difference for myself in the morning, because before I got pulled into any direction, I started my day, not in reaction mode, but actively started building my day. And in the evening, it really made me like not waste tons of time and stay up late, but rather I really focused on relaxing, recharging, so I could actually attack and use the next day as well. And it also had a very different effect that I didn't expect in the beginning, but then I noticed that it really helped calm down my late night urges. Why? Because when I used to be like get late night urges, it was always because I was kind of like, it was the end of the day, I was getting, my willpower was getting weak. So all these thoughts and feelings and the stress of the day kind of started creeping in. It was the weakest time of the day, basically. And once the mind got triggered and once I started getting more into zombie mode and into the urge and everything, there was basically no way of stopping myself. But if I set my mind straight, way before that, like in the early evenings, for example, I already was in this more kind of like mindful, more aware, just determined and sincere, like kind of state of mind. Still relaxed, very relaxed actually, but more in a healthier mind state. That led to just experiencing way less late night urges. Because if I already had an urge, it was really difficult to get myself, like drag myself out of it and reset my mind. But instead, I already, before anything happened, before I even had the chance to go down the route of an urge, I already set it in the right state. So I was more calm, more sincere, aligned with who I want to be. And then the likelihood of it happening became a lot less. And even if I started feeling some kind of urge arising, I was already in the right mindset to pull myself out of it. But of course you can do much more if you really want to crush late night urges. And I'm gonna create, or I am actually currently creating a completely free guide specifically for late night urges, and gonna post it here on my channel. And if you find this kind of stuff useful, please subscribe and you get tons more of it. So those 2 tools really helped me take charge of my day, you could say. But obviously you can go much deeper than just some simple tools, for example. And I do really like how the entire community developed over the last 2 years, I would say, because I see more and more guys really digging deep and understanding what they have to do to really make their minds as strong as possible. And in this next video, I'm going way deeper into the very important change that I see more and more guys understand and do to get to the next level, which basically makes me think that 2023 NoFap is going to explode. So if you want to find out why or what that is, then check out the next video.